Liviamo, liviamo negli eti calici che la bellezza infiora.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Lunch with Painted Sky Opera, a new online recital series where we feature artists from our past shows singing and talking about the arias which they love best. I'm Rob Glaubitz, Artistic Director of Painted Sky Opera, and I'm happy that you're able to join us for this first installment. We will make each installment of Lunch with Painted Sky Opera available first on Facebook at noon on Thursday, so that you can take a short break from whatever you're doing, eat your lunch, and enjoy some beautiful music. We're planning to produce this concert series every other week with all of our performances recorded remotely from the artist's home. Lunch with Painted Sky Opera is a part of our Opera in Place initiative, which features original operatic resources such as educational videos for kids about opera, pre-show talks from selected Met Opera webcasts, streaming operas from us and from other Oklahoma City universities, special video performances, and more. Check it out at paintedskyopera.org for more information, as well as the complete list of our Opera in Place resources. Check back every week because they change. Today we're featuring two singers who appeared in our first major large-scale production, La Traviata, from February of 2017. Soprano Nicole Van Every and tenor Samuel Schlievert. Both of them have strong Oklahoma City connections, having completed graduate degrees in voice at a Central Oklahoma University. Nicole earned her doctorate at the University of Oklahoma, and Sam completed his master's at Oklahoma City University. We'll start today's program off with Sam, who will sing one of Puccini's most beautiful arias, Recondita armonia, from Tosca.
Our first selection is from Puccini's Tosca. Cavaradossi, while painting a portrait of Mary Magdalene, contemplates the mysterious harmony between his painting and that of his beloved Tosca. This aria is entitled Recondita armonia. One section I really love to sing from this aria is "E te, beltà ignota." That whole section, because to me it's just this really quintessential line that Puccini was so good at. It's very flowing, very Italianate. It's just so beautiful, I think, to sing. One thing that's really difficult about this aria, especially doing it in a concert setting like this or in an audition, is that in the orchestral introduction, in the score, and when you see the opera, Cavaradossi is supposed to be quickly and busily painting the Maddalena, and the sacristan, the helper of the church, is coming and going, and then right before he sings, Cavaradossi looks at a medallion of Tosca, and that is what inspires him to sing. But obviously in a concert and an audition, you don't have a set and props and other characters. So you have to convincingly tell that part of the story without any of those things, which sometimes I think can be difficult.
We'll switch over to Nicole now, but we'll stay with Puccini. Nicole will be performing one of the most recognizable arias from one of opera's most popular shows, Si, mi chiamano Mimi, from La Boheme.
The focus, at least during this aria, is on Mimi and this aspiring poet. And Mimi has come to his apartment because the light in her candle has gone out. And so she knocks on the door and he answers, and his light has also gone out, and so it's dark. And they then start talking about each other and their dreams. And so the very first aria sung by the tenor is Che gelida manina, and that is how cold your little hands are. And then after that wonderful tenor aria, she starts by singing Si chiamano. Yes, they call me Mimi, but my real name is Lucia. And my story is pretty brief. I don't have a lot to say about myself. I sew, I live alone. I sew little flowers and things in my home and outside. I love the smell of flowers. I love the first kiss of spring. And that's about all that I can tell you about myself. So this is Si, mi chiamano Mimi from Puccini's opera La Boheme.
Sulla mi fuori, grazie alla me stessa, non vado sempre a messa.
I wanted to share this aria with you today because it's one of my favorites. I've never sung the role of Mimi, but she is at the top of my list of roles that I would love to sing on stage sometime in the near future. And also with the story of Mimi and the text of this aria, I found a lot of parallels with how we're living our lives in quarantine today. So Mimi is this fragile, I'll say fragile, I should say ailing. She's ill, and she's a seamstress, and she lives alone, and she takes pleasure in very simple things in life. She is a dreamer, she loves nature, and she talks about how she spends her time at home sewing inside her home, her clean little room, and also outside. She doesn't go to church, but she prays often. And she loves the very first moment when the thaw has come from winter and the first kiss of spring, the first kiss of April is hers. And this is a momentous moment for me in the aria. It builds up to Ma quando vien lo gelo, and that's when she starts talking about this gorgeous coming of spring. And so for all of us who are also in our little rooms or big houses alone, doing simple things and starting to take pleasure in simple things in life like nature and flowers, this aria really spoke to me today to share it with you.
From one famous aria to another, this next selection is one of those arias that would be recognized by most people, whether they were opera fans or not, because of the iconic climactic moment. From Leoncavallo's Pagliacci, Sam will sing Vesti la giubba.
Canio, the leader of a troupe of actors, has nearly caught the man with whom his wife is having an affair. As he readies himself for the evening's performance, he laments his circumstances and his life as a clown, while realizing that the show must go on. This is Vesti la giubba.
Forza
One way that this aria fits my voice really well and that I love to sing is that I believe I can do a very convincing job of expressing the emotion of the character and of the text of this piece. Despite the obvious section at the end, one part that really speaks to me is in the beginning recitative, where he says, "Sei tu forse un uomo, tu sei Pagliaccio." Are you not a man? No, you're a clown. This whole thing really speaks to the, how distraught Canio is at his situation in life right now. And I think that part is just brilliant. When I first studied this aria, it was from an anthology, like many students. And then when I was finally looking at it in the score, there's an orchestral moment after the aria is finished, and I thought it was very interesting, and I really loved how Leoncavallo, the composer, how specific he was in when certain things were supposed to happen. There's moments where it's very detailed, where Canio looks like he's going off stage, and he comes back, then he leaves, and there's a very certain spot where he indicates the curtain is supposed to start to fall. So I thought that was very interesting and something that you don't always get from an anthology.
Since we're featuring two of our artists from La Traviata, we would be remiss if we didn't include a selection from this fantastic show. We will feature both of our singers next in Verdi's beautiful duet, Felice, from the first act of La Traviata.
So Alfredo has, in the whole story of things, he's met Violetta at least a year ago and fell kind of love at first sight with her. And she's having a big party, and he goes and his friends kind of awkwardly tell Violetta, "Hey, this man is in love with you." And she asks everyone to leave, and then shows sign of her illness that she has. And he has not left the room. He stays, and they talk, and eventually he says, "I've loved you for a year," and that's how the duet starts.
Yeah, and I think for Violetta, this is the first time where she starts to feel these conflicting emotions, because Alfredo is saying, "I've loved you for a year," and then she's listening to this and starting to feel those first pangs. But then her other side takes over and says, "If that's true, go look for love somewhere else. Friendship is all I can offer you. Love is the only, I can't offer such an emotion as deep as love. So go find it elsewhere." So I think for every singer, they have this dream role that they've always wanted to sing and perform on stage. And for me, Violetta is definitely my dream role. I think I could sing her every day of my life and be quite happy. So I was so privileged and honored to be able to sing it with Pianist by Opera and alongside Sam and Tom and others, and be directed by Rob. For me, Violetta is a very complex character. She has some of the most moving music that I've ever heard. Verdi gives her these gorgeous sweeping lines, these full lyric lines, but also this really tough coloratura and some really hard stuff up in the higher range on pianissimo, sometimes even quieter than that in the score. And so the whole sing across the 3 acts, for me, it felt like it fit like a glove. There really wasn't a lot that was tough for me in the role. But what was really, I guess, the most challenging part was accessing all different types of my voice. Character-wise, Violetta is, I can relate to her a lot because she feels, at least in my early life, she feels like she's never felt love and that she's never been worthy of feeling love. And then she meets this man at this party that she throws, and she starts feeling the pangs of, gosh, what is this feeling? This man is saying that he loves me, and I'm feeling this stirring as well. And it's a very raw human moment for her. And I loved following her journey through this love with Alfredo until the very end.
So Alfredo was my first kind of big Verdi role. I sang it, and I was still kind of like coming up as a young tenor. And luckily for me, it's not like a huge, like a Radamés in Aida, or like a Alvaro in Forza d'Avesino. There were these like big Verdi roles. So for me, it wasn't. It was still challenging, but I was thankful that it wasn't, one of these huge roles that I had time where I wasn't on stage or the music wasn't so demanding. So I was really lucky and thankful to be a part of that production, because it really taught me a lot about myself as a singer and a lot about Verdi's music, because there's so much in Traviata that is so indicative of Verdi's music. And the character of Alfredo, it was good for me to play at that time too, because he's very much this young, very impulsive man. He doesn't really think a lot of things. He is really led by his emotion, and he doesn't really think a lot of things through. He leaps first and then he looks. So that was really, interesting and timely at that point in my life to get to express that character. Being a young tenor, you idolize all these really famous voices who have sung the role and who have sung other big repertoire that you like to do. And then you get in, and you realize, oh, okay, this is more. It's a lot more lyric than I had originally thought it was going to be. But there's still a lot of dramatic parts in it, like in the gambling scene in the second scene of Act 2. You really get a chance to kind of let loose dramatically. He kind of throws a fit there. So that was really fun because it's not a big aria that he sings. So before I had studied the piece, I didn't really know that scene at all. So that was really fun to get into.
Yeah, for me, discovering how selfless and such a class act that Violetta was. Before I really delved into the story of La Traviata, when I heard like a courtesan,
I had these preconceived notions of what a courtesan was, you know, somebody who was kind of loose and just kind of like partied all the time and was with a lot of different men and really didn't care. And when I again delved into the story and the history of when La Traviata takes place and what a courtesan actually is, Violetta is very classy, very well-kept woman. And then when she falls in love, just her selflessness, when Alfredo's father comes to visit her and she's willing to give up her love with Alfredo just to save his family name. And so that was surprising to me, just what a beautiful soul she really is.
Thanks for joining us for this first installment of Lunch with Painted Sky Opera. We hope you enjoyed this new type of recital series. We have one more selection for you, but before I introduce it, I want to make sure I tell you about our second installment of Lunch with Painted Sky Opera, which will be coming up on Thursday, May 14th at noon. On this second installment, we will feature baritone Tom Sitzler and tenor Joel Bertram, who have both appeared several times with Painted Sky Opera, including together in our 2017 production of Tosca. We'll end on a somewhat different note. For those of you who attended one of our galas for the last few years, you may have noticed that Nicole plays a somewhat different role at these major events, the singer for our band. So we figured we should feature her in this role as well. Here's Nicole with Harold Arlen's classic, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Thank you for joining us today.
If there was one song I had to choose to define my life soundtrack, Over the Rainbow would be it. And so that's why I wanted to share it with you today, especially in these times. This is a song that I always turn to when I need some comfort. And it's also a song that I always share with my audience near the end of every concert I do. Sometimes I sing it in a more jazzy style, sometimes in a more classical style. It just depends on the theme of the concert. But again, Over the Rainbow is my go-to song.
I
Recently, I was singing Tybalt at Sarasota Opera in their production of Romeo and Juliet. We, unfortunately, like many companies, we had to stop the season short. I'm very thankful that that company, along with many others, has committed to paying the artists through their contract. It's a very kind and meaningful gesture in this time. And they've also started an initiative, which I've been taking part of on my Facebook and Instagram, called Suddenly Opera, where at 5 p.m. every day you go outside and you sing until the theaters are able to reopen, so that we are keeping opera alive and the public interested in what the artists are doing.
This past fall, I got to sing Violetta's big scene and aria from the first act up in Ashland, Oregon with Brava Opera. I won 3rd place in the American Prize, and I also won a competition from Berkeley, California. So I was scheduled to go out to Berkeley this summer and do 4 performances, but unfortunately that is on hold because of the pandemic. I also had concerts lined up in Florida, Colorado, St. Louis, and I was scheduled to go sing in Europe this summer, but all of those have also been canceled. April of 2021, I have signed a contract to sing with the Fort Smith Symphony with Metropolitan Opera tenor Arnold Rawls, and we're going to do an entire concert of the best loved arias and duets from opera. Yeah, so that's exciting.
Side note, I love this opera so much that 12 years ago I named my cat after Rodolfo. I call him Rudy for short, but he also just wanted to pop in to say hi, and he's looking forward to hearing songs from his favorite opera.